In this episode of OG55 Live, I got George, the Italiano, and Mr. Lucas Kim in the house. We are talking all about our D23 Ultimate Fan Event experience. We're talking about the overall operations, the panels, everything we experienced at the expo. Up next on OG55 Live. Welcome aboard, everybody, to this episode of OG55 Live. We are talking all about the D23 Expo. We were there, the three of us, together at that expo, and we wanted to take your questions and comments, but also just kind of talk and discuss about what our overall experience was, whether it be operationally, whether it be what we thought about the individual panels, like the Legends ceremony, things like that. Before we dive right in, George, the Italiano, welcome back, sir.
Thanks for having me back on. It's always a good time. Love doing these lives, and I apologize in advance, folks, but I am starting to peel like a snake at the moment from my 7-night Disney cruise to the Caribbean. So,
and you're going on another one soon. The next cruise, is it 7 days again or no?
4 nights.
Okay. Yeah, I would lather up, George, this time. I would lather up.
You know what? I used a whole entire can, like, because I do the spray.
Yeah,
it did absolutely nothing.
I'm telling you, I had a shirt on and I was sunburned under my shirt when I went down there. It's absolutely crazy. But George, if you could let everybody at home know where they can find you on social media.
Absolutely. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You can also find me on Instagram under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you can find me right here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner, with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
Absolutely. And Kev already with the funny jokes. Here we go. I just gotta. Oh my God! Can we not talk about George lubing up? Yeah, I know, right, Kev? I'm so sorry, bro. I'm so sorry. This is not a members exclusive video, so you know. Mr. Lucas Kim, it is always good to have you on the show, brother. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you. It's great to have you get join this OG55 video.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of live shows these days from you guys, and you know, like I tend to miss like half of them because like keep forgetting that you guys do more lives these days, and I'm like, oh, I better show up, and then I'm like, oh damn, it's already like an hour behind.
And then there's a time difference too with you know, and stuff like that, so it's tough.
Yeah. But I was gonna say, you know, George, now that he's going on another cruise, does that mean that his beers are gonna peel off next time when he comes back?
Right? Yeah, exactly.
You never know.
Exactly. But Lucas, where can people find you on social media, YouTube, all that good stuff?
You can find me on YouTube, Lucas and Disney, or you can also find me on Twitter, aka X, as ItsLucasKim. My username is right below. You can follow me right there.
There he is. Make sure you follow him on X, and I will link the YouTube and all that stuff actually in the description after the show today. So check it out. Come back, check it out. Or if you're watching it on replay, it'll already be in there. So make sure you check it out. Now, I am having mouse issues today with my Apple mouse, which is being a butt. Okay, my Apple mouse is being a total butthole today. So George is actually going to be manning the comments. So George, it's a big responsibility, sir, but I think you're up to the task. Let's go ahead and take our first question. Googamp. Actually, you know what? Before we take a first question, let's kind of discuss a little bit about our experience. Then we'll kind of dip into some questions, I think.
See, right? He puts me at the helm of one of the questions and he just takes it right off.
I'm sorry. Let's just set the table just a little bit. Lucas, now I can't stress it enough. I mean, we both, George and I, want to thank you, because if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have been there in the first place. So again, I want to thank you so much for that, brother. We do appreciate it. We had a blast hanging out with you. Yeah, it was a great weekend. But I wanted to ask you, like, what were your overall thoughts of, because this is a unique fan event for Disney, like the Honda Center element of it, right? like, what were your thoughts on that whole equation? Because this is the first time, and we're going into this, we were all a little worried. Like, how logistically are they going to handle this? Is it going to work? Is it not going to work? That element of it, having to go down to the Honda Center every night for these panels, did you not like it? Did you like it? Did it work for you? Not work for you? What were your thoughts on that?
I can't honestly can't really compare it before times because I've never been there before, and this was basically my first D23 Expo in my life. And um, there's one thing that I don't like about it is that like I legitimately had to like call the cab every time, back and forth, like going to a different Honda, different like like a what is a studio to just to watch the big show and everything. And the securities were a little bit annoying because like um I remember you like nearly having fainted on the second day of the expo. You're like, I'm done with this
Yeah, dude.
because they didn't let us in, even though like they were supposed to let us in, but also at the same time it was like really hot outside. And OJ right here was like just having like a heat stroke, considering that he's actually from California himself, and he's already having heat stroke. I'm like, oh man, if he's already having heat stroke, then like, what am I doing here?
Yeah, exactly. We're sitting out there in the heat. It was like 90 something degrees out there, and the sun was beating down. And they were supposed to open the doors with like, I think it was like 5 o'clock or something. And we were sitting out there till like 5:45 almost, I believe. It was crazy. So it was getting really, really hot. But yeah, that was kind of a pain in the butt. In terms of getting over there, George and I did the Uber thing, and it was cool. It was fine. I mean, it wasn't that pricey. What did we pay typically? It was like what, like $7, George, $8 or something like that.
Yeah, and then it was a little bit more going back, but that's because of the surcharge. Because anytime there's a big event where there's going to be a lot of people that's in high demand for Ubers and Lyfts, the price always goes up. But going over to the Honda Center, yeah, it was between $8 to $10, and then
Yeah.
going back, I would say it was about 15 to 20.
Yeah, what we would do is we would actually leave the expo, like around 2 or 3, go back to our hotel. We were staying at the Anaheim main gate. And then from the main gate, we would take the Uber over to the Honda Center. And then the Honda Center, we would take the little bus. We'd walk over to the bus station and then go home from that. So it was okay. I mean, these Ubers add up after a full weekend, but it wasn't bad. I mean, the waits and the drive times were fine. It wasn't as messy as I thought it was going to be honest.
Yeah, and I would have rather taken the Uber because I've heard a lot of, not saying that the buses that was complimentary from D23 for the members attending the event, but it's just, I think it just seemed too monotonous, trying to load and unload all the people into the bus and what have you. I'd rather just take my own, individual private transportation and be done with it.
Yeah, no, 100%. So let's also dive into we'll start with the showroom floor, and then we'll do the 3 panels, and then we'll start taking like questions from the audience and stuff. And and all joking aside, I do appreciate you, George, helping out with this. My
Absolutely.
mouse is just, but so showroom floor. Lucas, and I know this is Girly Nerd's question, and we'll dip into it again, Girly Nerd, but overall, what were your thoughts on the showroom floor? Was it like pretty cool, not so good, underwhelming? How do you feel about it?
For someone who always went to Comic-Con and like anime like cons. Well, I only went to New York Comic-Con. I can't really speak for San Diego Comic-Con, and I heard that that's a really completely different experience. But the panels were very impressive. Like I honestly didn't think that Disney would have like a really big type of panel where you go into Avatar panel, for example, and you feel like you're actually inside the park, like attraction. I think that was a pretty good experience right there. And then Loki was like just a whole another level right there.
Oh, yeah.
I actually thought that was like, am I in a like an actual attraction? Like, is this like a Rise of Resistance? What is this right here? And I
Really cool.
I think that is probably the best thing that I've ever seen so far, and I really do hope that they will bring that type of experience into actual park in the distant future, because I think that was like one of the best things that I've seen so far, like for D23 Expo. Yeah.
Yeah, that was really cool. I also like the Homer Simpson thing where you can. It was like the meme where he goes into the hedge.
Oh yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
and you can actually have that experience at the expo. I thought that was really, really clever and creative. Yeah, overall, the expo floor was really cool. I mean, that stagecraft thing for Lucasfilm was really dope. That day, and it wasn't really Disney's fault. That day, that was day 2 that we did that, and my legs were killing me that day. So it was a little hard standing for like half hour for that whole situation, but it was really cool to kind of see the technology with the stagecraft, and it's so much more than just a big like screen. Like the technology that's built into that thing is so dope. Like wherever the camera moves, it adjusts the background to accommodate the angle. And even if you stand in front of the screen, like the stagecraft screen, and and there's like a big city behind you, and you light a physical lightsaber up, the background in the city will light up like in certain areas. So it interacts with your action, with the physical stuff, which I thought was really, really dope. Any standouts for you, Mr. Italiano, in terms of the showroom floor or anything that kind of stuck out for you?
Before I do that, I just have to kind of go back to the beginning and say, honestly, from uh, experiencing all the D23 expos since 2009, I think this one was best operation wise, by adding the bigger presentations into the Honda Center. It gave a lot of breathing room for the Anaheim Convention Center itself to kind of have the smaller, intimate panels and presentations, and have the walkthrough exhibits and everything. So I have to say that as far as the showroom floor itself, I did enjoy the Simpsons area with the meme and everything, and
That was funny.
sitting on the couch with the family watching TV. I enjoyed the interaction with Rocket, where you could talk to Rocket and he talks back to you. They also had a one where you could talk to Mickey Mouse as well. We didn't get a chance to experience that one though.
No, we didn't. I saw that one though online, and the Mickey looked a little funky. He was a little weird looking.
Yeah.
It looks like a virtual tuber version of the Mickey Mouse right there.
It did. It looked like a little VTuber Mickey. It was kind of funny. But
see what happens when you let these characters go into public domain.
yes. Well, yeah, it was kind of funny.
I mean, it had nothing to do with that. It was more just, but
just for the But
I like
was
to
cool.
I like to add something because people have told me that the National Geographic's panel was actually good inside. And I was very disappointed of not going there. I was on my way going down there, and then I ended up walking into Kathleen Kennedy, and I just completely forgot about going in there, and then just left the line and trying to see if I could take a picture with her, and then I was not able to do that, and that was like the biggest disappointment right there. I didn't realize that she refused to take any photos with anybody or interact with anyone, and then she went into the stagecraft, and then also I'm disappointed. I was also disappointed that I was not able to like do the stagecraft inside, like where you can take photos and like where you can experience the whole thing. And they were actually doing it like for a couple of people right there. I think Ordinary Adventures actually did that too when they got in.
Yeah, no, they did. We were standing in line and we saw Peter and Kitra walk up. It was pretty cool.
Now, as far as the Lucasfilm special like effects kind of thing, I love the concept of it, of what they wanted to show us and everything. Operational wise, I think that was one of the worst setups that D23 did, in my opinion, because they had us standing there in line, then they had us go and stand in this big section where, depending on where you're standing, you're only getting a certain angle of it. And then for you to actually be able to experience it yourself, you have to go back out and get back in another line and wait to see if you could even have an opportunity to do it, unless you had an access pass that would guarantee it. So I loved how like they did with like Avatar and Marvel, where you kind of did like a walkthrough kind of thing. That's what I wish, even if they did give us a presentation, but I wish that they would have just taken the group and just formed a line before the next presentation and just let us go through it.
What say you, Lucas? You were going to say something, brother?
Yeah, so some of the cosplayers were actually getting a free special access into the group, and I heard that the Star Wars Twitter handler who's been giving free stuffs and special premiere access to some of the content creators were giving special access to to go in and take photo and then do experience in there, and these people actually met the like the one who's in charge of the stagecraft, and then like got to have like a take have a photo opportunities, and while they were posing they gave like a special photo access of them like being part of the stagecraft experience right there. So I think
Cool.
like the next time I'm gonna do is like I'm just gonna like just cosplay and just be like, you know what, I'm here to cosplay, can I get a free access?
Yeah, exactly. Get that. You got to get that sweet special access, Lucas. You know what I'm saying? You got to get that sweet special access. I do want to bring up one comment right now, though, because there it is.
Oh,
George
God.
already knows. So maybe is in the house. Maybe here says, "Did Bob Iger smell good, Lucas?" That's what everyone wants to know. For those of you at home that don't know, Lucas actually took a selfie with Bob Iger. George and I, it was so crazy. George and I were like, hey, Lucas, this is day 2. We're like, we're going to go back to the hotel. Our legs are killing us, right? 20 minutes later, you go on X, and this guy has a selfie with Bob Iger. I was looking at George like, oh my God, we missed Iger by 20 minutes. But how was that experience, Lucas? And like, maybe he's asking, did he smell good?
Well, let's answer the smell good question first. He smells like a rich golfer person, I guess. That's all I can say. Like, when you're rich, like you can smell a different type of cologne right there. So I guess you smells like a rich man. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fresh grass and khaki lint.
Yeah, I know.
He answered JP's answer. It was not Men's Warehouse. He was definitely wearing like a golf tee right there. So definitely not Men's Warehouse.
That's fascinating. Yeah, that was cool though, Lucas. You met a lot of big like a lot of big wigs, a lot of executives. You got like a lot of pictures, right? Like who were some of the people that you besides Iger? Who else did you?
I met Jeff Valley, and then let's see,
Carmen Smith, because I remember doing that one with you.
Oh yeah, Carmen Smith was one of them. I had to look down with everything, and I met one of the this Disneyland's board member as well too, and like there were a lot of people, and I know Jeff Valley was actually definitely one of them right there. He was just standing right there at the Imagineering panel, and he's like, "Hey, are you from like? Did you go to Disney World before?" And I said, "Yeah." And he's like, "Are you ready for tonight's like the showcase?" And I said, "Yeah, definitely." And he's like, "We got a lot of things going on. You'll be excited." And so it's not Josh, but it's Jeff Valley. Like the president of Walt Disney World Park itself.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Well, at that Imagineering pavilion, there were quite a few big people in there, right? Like George, you talked to Chris Beatty, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes.
And then we also, I don't think. Well, did you talk to the guy who does the rock work?
I did. Yes.
Okay. So you talked to, and what's the gentleman's name? I can never remember.
I can never pronounce his last name, but his first name is Zolt.
Zolt. I knew it was a Z. Okay, Zolt. So we saw him, and then you talked to Chris Beatty. Want to care to share your discussion with him, George?
Yes. So, it actually involves both of them. So I spoke to Zolt, and I do apologize. I forget his last name and how to like pronounce it, and I don't want to butcher it. But
so Zolt Horme would be his name.
There we go. Yes.
And then I actually met Clark Jones. He's a head of one of the Disneyland's development area right there. He was one of the he was hanging out right outside of the Imagineering, in between Moana and Imagineering panel right there. Nice. And then I also met what's his name? Kevin Lansbury. He's also in charge of the Disney Cruise Lines as a financing chief financing officer of the Disney Cruise Line. He was also at the Imagineering. Almost everyone was at the Imagineering. It's like it was their biggest promotion. I think so. I think Bob was like, you have to be at the Imagineering panel. Everyone, like you have to show your face right there. You have, you know, and then about Bob Iger, like I didn't really get a chance to talk with him. It was like kind of like a brief meeting, and then people were trying to like squeeze in to take photo with it, and then the securities are like pushing each other, and it's like, no, we can't take photo. And I even also I was like trying to talk to Bob. I said, Mr. Iger, can I take a photo with you? And then the security was like, I'm sorry, like he can't take photo, but at the same time he kind of stopped right there, and then I just like kind of like sniped in the front, and I just like put a selfie right there, and then Bob just like kind of like turned his head and noticed my camera, and still a professional gentleman. I can say, some of the CEOs or any of those people, they wouldn't like even give a damn about like taking photos with anybody, but he was willing to smile and look at the camera and take a photo. I think that was a pretty like professional of a CEO himself.
Yeah, very, very, very cool. And maybe here says fave scent is money. That's what Bob Iger smells like. He smells like a $900 polo shirt and some money.
Brand new money, brand new hundreds, got a bunch of zeros like a bag of new Funyuns.
Exactly what he smelled like. Exactly. But so George, you were talking to a couple of Imagineers at the Imagineering Pavilion. So Chris Beatty was the one that you actually spent the most time with, right?
The most time, yeah. So I spoke to Zolt first. He and his team were working on a piece of sculptured rock work that's going to be showcased either somewhere in Fantasy Springs, or it may go into the Fantasy Springs Hotel. So I ended up asking him, since Fantasy Springs is complete and everything, like, does he happen to know what his next project is? And this was the day after the parks presentation.
You were fishing, huh, George?
I was fishing. I wanted some answers. And I said, I do know your work. I'm a huge fan of your work. I know you worked on Cars Land and Pandora, and of course Fantasy Springs and what have you. And I said, by any chance, are they moving you over to Florida for the Cars Land section there and for Villains Land? And he said, well, I'm not 100% sure. It just depends on, if I'm needed over there or not. But he said it looks like that's the route that they're going. So he said more so. He said, I've been over at Tokyo the whole entire time, but he said it looks like so far that I'll be possibly heading back over to Florida.
Yeah. See, here's the thing with these guys, right? Like they always have to give like these non-answers, right? Because it's not official yet. The fact that he said it's looking like it tells me it's confirmed. The fact that he even went that far with it, because usually they're like, I have no idea. I'm happy doing what I'm doing now. It's usually the answer you're going to get, right? But the fact he's like, yeah, it's looking like I'm going to go over there. Oh, come on. It's pretty much,
So then we got into like the not necessarily the line, but like it created a line while you're going through the walkthrough of the Imagineering Pavilion, where you could see all the models and the concept art. And at the very end, Chris Beatty was standing there, and he was talking to another Imagineer. He was holding a cup of coffee, a paper cup with coffee in his hand and everything. So I thought, why not? What the hell? Let me go over and ruffle some feathers a bit. So I went over, I introduced myself and everything. He shook my hand, very nice guy. And I said, a lot of big news coming out of the parks presentation yesterday. He said, yeah, he said, we hope that we pleased everybody, as far as like, with the announcements and everything. And I said, yeah, because I remember the last D23 Expo, you were on stage with Damaro, and you were, you made the announcement for Villains. And I said, I'm so glad that it's actually official. And he said, yeah, he said, not exactly how I wanted to present it the first time, but he said, at least it's happening. And I said, well, speaking of that, I said, I was talking to Zolt over there, and he said that there was a possibility.
The homie Zolt,
Yeah. And for the architecture, and he went, oh yeah. And I said, well, just as a request from a fan, I was like, I would definitely use him for villains and the Cars land. Just saying.
Yeah.
And he just kind of, shrugged his head like and nodded and everything, and had a little smirk. So it's like he didn't like confirm it, but
he's doing it.
Yeah,
he's doing it. Let's be honest. So I am having issues with my mouse. So George, if you could bring up Seymour, because I think we have a little channelversary for Mr. Seymour Duck.
Yeah, congrats, Seymour, for 2 months.
As a member. Yes, Mr. Seymour Duck. We love Mr. Duck. He is 2 months member here on OG55. And not only is he a member, but he is a contributor here on the channel. I mean, he's in a lot of videos now, We actually got another video coming out with him this weekend. So make sure you check that one out. But it's always good to see Mr. Seymour Duck. Now, in terms of the panels, let's start. Night one was a studio panel, right? You guys, I believe.
Studio, correct.
Studio. So we head over to the Honda Center, and we got the studio panel. Lucas, overall thoughts before we dive into the details. What were your thoughts on this studio panel?
I was very disappointed that I was not able to record a single thing every time when I'm trying to do something. They're like, you got to put your camera down. We can't let you reveal whatever's behind this showcase tonight. I was like, really? You're gonna show it within a couple of days after? I don't understand what this is exclusive showcases. But okay, you know what? Despite the fact that I pay for the very front row right there, the preferred seat right there, I would have assumed that they would have at least given them the grant of recording something, but they didn't allow it.
They've never done, even all the way back since 2009, anything with the studios. They are very strict about recording. There was even one of the expos that they had an exclusive scene for. It was I think it was Infinity War. And this scene was shown, I think it was a year out before the movie was even released. Yeah, so these people were able to see an actual official scene before anybody, and they didn't want nothing.
Yeah. When I went to the expo, my first time to the expo was in 2019, and the only panel I did that weekend was a studio panel, and they had some Rise of Skywalker footage. So it was even more intense than this Honda Center experience, because you could still have your phone this time. They didn't take your phone or anything like that,
Right. Yeah.
They have told you not to film it, but you could still keep your phone. At that time, when you walk in, they give you almost like those shipping bags where you take the sticker off and you stick it. So you would put it in the plastic bag and you would seal it, and you can bring it with you, but it has to stay in that bag. So you couldn't even take your phone out. It was driving me nuts too, because it's my phone's buzzing and stuff. I'm like, oh god, it's my OCD. I don't who's calling me, But this time they didn't do that, but they did enforce you just can't really take pictures and what have you. So
right.
But it was cool though. I mean, I thought the studio was cool. I liked most of what they showed us. I think Pixar kind of won the night personally. Yeah. I thought Pixar was really just a home run. I mean, the new movies that they showed us footage for, like Elio, I was really blown away by that. I thought the little robot thing, his companion, it looks like a little Japanese kind of kawaii robot or something. I mean, really adorable stuff. And just that movie looked really, really cool. And I like how they kind of tapped into the wonders of the universe and what's out there. I'm big on that stuff. I love talking about what's possibly out there. Is there life on other planets and things like that, and kind of tapping into that curiosity factor. And I feel with this preview, they kind of dipped into a lot of that energy, which I really, really liked. Lucasfilm, we saw a little bit of Mando and Grogu. Disney Animation, they kind of hinted upon. They gave us some concept art for Frozen, things like that. But what stuck out for you, George, in terms of the studio panel, in terms of anything they showed us, or anything that kind of stuck out for you, good or bad?
I definitely agree with you. I feel like Pixar won the night as far as overall assumption of news and releases and what have you. I am very excited for Mando and Grogu. I thought the footage that they showed us, I think if this is done well and what they had shown us, that this could, and our good friend and contributor of the channel, Jay Shearer, I think said it best, where it doesn't necessarily mean that Lucasfilm is back, doesn't mean Star Wars is back. It just means that this film is successful. And it's like you have to keep those standards moving along with each project that you
Right.
do. So I hope for Lucasfilm's sake that Mando and Grogu is going to be a phenomenal hit, even though with the title of Mandalorian, it can get butts into the seats, but the story has to be good enough for it to carry through.
Yes, for me, I'm pretty confident in that movie. From what we saw, I thought looked pretty dope. But Jon Favreau is involved in that, and he rarely misses. For me personally, you know what I'm saying? I love Chef. I like a lot of his work actually. The Lion King live action, I wasn't a big fan of, but you know, everyone has a bad day at the office, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know, one movie doesn't make or break anything for me. So I'm pretty confident in that. And it was a smart move, actually, that being the first movie back from Rise of Skywalker, because Mando and Grogu is something that like even the normies really embraced. I mean, I talked to people at work, and even people that didn't even like Star Wars, that don't even watch Star Wars, were tuning into The Mandalorian every week. You know, I mean, it was really Grogu that brought, like, you know,
yeah,
like your grandma into the fold, right? Like everyone wanted to see this thing now, you know? So
yeah.
I think it's very, very well. But
yeah, so I actually have one for each part of the studios. That was a highlight for me. So Mando and Grogu for Lucasfilm, Fantastic Four for Marvel.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I definitely can't wait for that. Zootopia 2 for Disney Animation. I don't know. It was just very funny with the interaction with the walrus, you know, making those sound effects done and like that. And I love how it's a completely different feel than what the first film was. Like this is like in like the boondocks, kind of swampy marsh kind of area. So I love how it's a different setting.
Well, it works because you want to explore. I think Zootopia really succeeded in like that world building. And so we saw the urban cityscape version of this world, and now we're going to see more of like the kind of like the more, like you said, the more bayou kind of rural element of Zootopia, right? It's dope. Go ahead.
And then for Pixar, actually, it wasn't actually what was shown. It was just the announcement itself, because it caught me off guard, and I think it caught everybody off guard in that whole entire arena. Was when Pete Docter, right before he left the stage and ended that segment with the Incredibles 3 drop.
Just mic dropped it, dude. Mic dropped it.
I still remember, like, when we were at before the showcase, I said, hey, you know, like, what if they actually made like an Incredibles the 2 sequel, and then you know, like they just like suddenly bring Syndrome as like another villain to return again, he suddenly survives, and then out of nowhere during the showcase like they just announced Incredibles 3, and I'm like, what?
and the way that Pete Docter, and I gotta say, honestly, like off the bat, Pete Docter really impressed me the whole weekend, because he was like
everywhere.
Yeah, every panel we went to, he was in it, but he was great, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But at the very end of that panel, the Pixar segment or whatever, he was like, "So, what do you guys think? Wasn't that incredible?" And then the big logo behind him, Incredibles 3, and the music. I was like, "Oh my god, this is dope!" Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. Who won the night for you, Lucas? Like, I mean, what stood out for you with all these studios and stuff?
You know, I feel like I'm the only person who actually is excited about Avatar, the third movie, but also considering the fact that I also called it about like that, tonight probably is gonna have an Avatar, like the sequel announcement with the Firelands and everything, and then my money was right on the clock right there. The Fireland is actually a thing, and they're gonna like probably use Fireland, Fire Navis are going to be probably the villains of the story than anything, and then the humans that we've been fighting for the second one and the first one are probably going to be the anti-heroes who are going to side with the actual, like, the protagonist and then try to like like bring peace back into the Pandora probably. That's just my assumption, but I was very excited for that movie, and then at the same time Daredevil was like my
Yes.
Daredevil Born Again was like very excited, and then not to mention Tron Ares was like my big thing right there. Yeah, sure. Nine Inch Nails a little bit right there, but I was like, but you know what are you gonna do? Like the what is it? Daft Punk is not coming back. And I
No.
know a lot of people were very disappointed Daft Punk is not doing it anymore. And I'm like, that group like disbanded in a very bad blood, as far as as far as I know. And
Wow.
and they just kind of like mutually respectfully disbanded. But I know that they no longer talk to each other and do any of the studios. If they still talk to each other and they retire, they obviously they're gonna like say, okay, we'll come back for one more movie. But
Right.
that's not going to happen. And I know, Cassandra Chamberlain just said, Jared Leto has a very long history of like in a failed movies before. So let's just hope that he's not going to flop it. But the Korean actress is actually the protagonist of the story in the Tron Ares. Is a Korean. I think she's like a Korean American actress. I think.
Nice.
So a lot of Koreans are very excited for that announcement right there, and I think like they're. But most of all, at the end of the day, it's Tron. What are you gonna do? Like everyone's been waiting ever since Tron Legacy sequel, and we're finally getting it, and I'm very excited for that. As for Pixar, yeah, I think Pixar had the best presentation than any other departments right there,
Yeah.
and Incredibles 3 was definitely like you know um oh, we got more like like goodie bags beneath the bag right there. So
Right.
I think that was like the big thing right there. And then Elio, I think I will probably be excited for that movie. Just if anything, I really wanted to have Ratatouille too, but that's that I don't know if they're gonna ever do that for me.
Yeah, I love Ratatouille. It's a great movie. It really is. Yeah, Pixar was fantastic. They did a really good job with this panel. They really did.
I just hope with Incredibles 3, because Pete Docter said that they're still in the creative side, like creating the story and what have you. But
Right.
I always get worried with that because at a click of a finger and a drop of a hat, anything can change. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
even though it was announced at D23, that doesn't necessarily mean
No.
it's fully locked in. Like if they had all the voice recordings done, then I would say, okay, but they didn't even start that process yet. And also with that, Craig T. Nelson, who does the voice of Robert Parr, or AKA Mr. Incredible, he's up there. I mean, I believe he's either in his like late 70s, early 80s. So, I mean, you kind of want to get that kind of locked in, because God forbid, I mean, you never know.
Yeah, I hope so. That the Incredibles franchise has so much potential. Like you could even have like a whole little like cinematic universe, like MCU style thing. You can make spin-off movies on various superheroes and things like that. I mean, you can do a whole thing with it, So it's interesting. But yeah, overall the studio stuff was really good. I'm trying to think. The only one that didn't impress me was Snow White, which makes me sad because I love Rachel. I love Rachel Zegler. I think she's really talented, lovely young lady. But the footage we've shown, I didn't really love it. But Lucas, you were impressed by it, or you did enjoy it, from what
I mean, like I know a lot of people have a lot of emotion to that movie. Where from the very first start, Rachel's interview on the like the live TV, she had some controversial statements before. And the dwarves, the seven dwarves, weren't really dwarves at the time. It was like something else. So my expectations were very, very low at the time. And so when they announced the CG version of the dwarves, because I was already not expecting a lot, so I was like, okay, I guess like it's not too bad, I guess. Like and then the singing was actually like what really got me, and then the Gal Gadot's like appearance of Evil Queen was pretty interesting. And yeah, over outside of the dwarves, I think like this movie could have done a better job right there. And I was hoping John Rhys Davis could have been the dwarf again. Like just
Yeah,
just
I
be the
know.
yeah, like there could have been a lot of like dwarf actors that could have been involved in this movie that they just didn't want to do it, and I think that has to do with the what's his name from the who did the Tyrion Lannister from
Game of
uh
Thrones.
yeah, Game of Thrones, the dwarf actor. I'm not getting his name for some reason.
I just call him the tits and wine guy.
Oh, Tristan Wayne guy. Yeah, okay.
Tits and wine. Yeah, tits and wine. That's what it'll. Yeah, no. I mean, do you ever see Game of Thrones, Lucas?
No, I have not actually, and
Oh, okay.
that was like one of the series that I never really got into. I watched it like the first 3 episodes,
Mhm.
and then of the first season, and I just couldn't get into it for whatever reason. And a lot of people have told me you have to finish the season 1 first, and then the season 2 is like where it gets really picked up. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh no, here we go. This is like a Dexter all over again.
Yeah, no, I liked it. I ended up binging like all 8 seasons like a couple summers ago, but it was good. It was good.
Thank you, Cassandra. Yeah, Peter Dinklage. Yeah, he actually was like, he's like, oh, like I think he made a very controversial statement about like like dwarves acting as dwarves kind of thing. He didn't like
Right.
the idea, and I think that was what that made the Disney developers wanted to not do dwarves at the first start, and they got a massive backlash out of that. And I think Disney was like, okay, maybe this was a really bad idea, and then they just decided to change the whole project, and that's why I was like, I'm okay with it,
Yeah.
because like I've had so much disappointments with the Disney remakes so far that my expectations and the bars are this low that whenever it is being presented, I'm like, okay, you know what, I'll watch it.
Let's see. Now we do have a lot of love for Avatar in the chat. We have maybe Avatar 3 is going to be fire. Seymour Duck, legit. Avatar Fire and Ash, literally fire. That's so true. It literally is fire. And Abigail, I'm excited for Avatar 3. So I mean, yeah, I'm excited for it too. Actually, I mean, look, here's the thing. Usually I don't like sequels more than the original, like most of the time. It's not like a concrete thing, but most of the time. I thought Way of Water was way better than the first one. And
I agree.
I love Way of Water. And I love like this kind of like this story about a very father-centric story with Way of Water. I just loved it. I'm really excited for Avatar 3, but are you feeling it, George? Are you into this?
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I'm one of the very few people that a lot of people tend to like the theme park attractions, but not necessarily the films. I enjoy the films along with the theme park attractions. And I think it's very ironic that a lot of people can't stand the movies, but the numbers don't match.
I
don't get it.
It's kind of like people just want to say they hate it, but they really do love it or something. Like there's no way these movies make $2 billion.
Okay, here's the thing. I didn't like Avatar 1 when I first watched it. I thought it was like a Pocahontas and then the what is it, Fern Gully all in this like a space version of it. So I just couldn't accept that idea. But 2017 when James Cameron and Joe Rohde made Pandora and Animal Kingdom, my visions and opinions have completely changed about how I saw this movie. I decided to sit down again and watch it twice in a row.
What?
Just to understand why I did not like this movie. And then my visions have completely changed, and I feel that and then after watching The Way of Water, I love the idea that James Cameron brings into this movie. The whole Avatar 1 through 6 is literally just a whole lore of Pandora, and we're all just like going on an adventure with him.
Yeah.
Basically, that's how it feels like. So that's why I am so excited for the third movie, because It's like we're going to new land and learning about new culture and the new type of journey right there. It's not a repetitive type of story. It's just a whole new type of concept of like, what kind of unexpected, like, like uncharted lands are out there.
Yeah, and the interesting thing too that has piqued my curiosity now is that we've heard, and we're going to get into the parks panel. We're not going to dive too much into the parks panel today because we've done so many videos on the parks stuff already. But the Avatar Fire and Ash, there's elements. Josh did say this in the parks panel. There's elements of that movie in the new Pandora for DCA, as well as even some of the movies that go further out, like number 4 and number 5, I think he said. So that's another reason why I'm kind of like very curious about this movie, because I want to see kind of like what might be incorporated into what we get in Pandora.
Everything was peaceful until the Fire Nations came along.
Right, exactly. And this is like the first time that we're actually going to get some conflict in an Avatar attraction, because the rides over at Disney World are amazing, but like Flight of Passage is like a very peaceful experience. Like you don't really, hit any what's the word for it? Any conflict or any issues. So, but now we'll talk a little bit about the parks panel, just a little bit, and then we're going to go into Legends. I don't want to spend too much time on parks just because we do so much of the park stuff already. George, your opinion on the parks panel overall, that, if you want to kind of touch upon what you overall thought,
I went in there very optimistic. I wasn't sure how they were going to approach this because we talked about it with Drew, the Disney dude, before attending the event.
Right.
And, when we first saw that concept poster with Mickey kind of orchestrating, and the icons and everything,
right.
We were kind of saying, oh, is this going to be a musical? Is it going to be, more Broadway style than actual like park announcements? And I absolutely love how they went about doing it. They did have Broadway style productions and music, right, and a lot of singers and celebrities coming out. But I love how they orchestrated it, no pun intended, with the announcements. So, for instance, for the Coco Dark Ride, they first brought out Ernesto de la Cruz singing Remember Me. And they had Rita Ora singing Trust in Me right before they made the announcement for Villains Land. And Billy Crystal for Monsters, Inc. and so on and so forth. So I love how it flowed very nicely. The one part that I got real nervous about was actually right before the event started, when they brought out the performers for the Mad Tea Party. And they did multiple songs, and I thought, oh dear God, is this going to be what the show is?
Because that was at the very beginning, like the show officially started. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like before. I think the show started like 6 or 7 o'clock at night or something like that. It was something like that. I forgot exactly what it was, but it would say 7 o'clock, right? And so 7 o'clock hits, and then the Mad Tea Party goes on stage. And I'm like, okay, this is cool. We're gonna get like one song from this group, It's like a Wonderland rock band, And I'm like, okay. And the first song ends, and we dip into the second song. Okay, we're doing two. That song ends, and we get a third song. Okay, now I'm getting worried. Now I'm like, what's going? Are they just killing time? And because they don't have a lot to announce. That's what I was worried about. I even turned to George. I'm like, oh man, I'm getting nervous now, right? And they did like 5 or 6 songs. I think. But we still got an amazing panel. So I mean, I'm cool with that. You know what I'm saying?
But in that moment, we didn't know that.
Yeah. We didn't know. Yeah. And All For One, I mean, they were awesome. Let's be honest, right?
Oh, of course. Oh, I was fanboying out in that moment because it was like that just took me back to the 90s. And it was like, by the way, I watched the whole presentation again. And I watched it through WDWNT. And when the part came when All For One was performing, I swear, I actually spotted you, OG, when you were doing the heart hands and you had your arms up and you were swaying back and forth. And I said, I know that has to be him. And then you stood up briefly and you were clapping and cheering and you saw the big poof of hair from the back, and I was like, "Yep, that's him."
The closer, the taller the hair, the closer to Walton. But look, speaking of being spotted, we have a celebrity in the house with us today, Mr. Lucas Kim.
Oh,
He was Lucas. You were in a lot of footage, and this is on Disney Plus. But man, the cameraman was loving Lucas. If you watch the Legends panel on Disney Plus, he's in there a lot. But did you know he was filming you? Did you know it was on you that much?
I like when people like try to like aim the camera at me, I wasn't 100% sure if he was actually recording me or not, because like it could have been Frank Oz. He was right in front of me, so I would have assumed that he was recording Frank Oz, but after
instead,
yeah, so instead, like, I didn't realize like he was recording me this much, like, and then like every time I kind of like glance a little bit at the camera, he kind of like changes the angle. So I was like, okay, you know what? If this is how he's gonna play, I'll just pretend that I'm not looking at the camera. I'll just like keep clapping and then like do my job right there, and then I actually watched that video, and there were like 23 of me in that video.
23 times.
Yeah. I actually counted. I was like Mikey, kind of like 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm like,
staying on brand for D23.
Exactly, 23 times at D23. But
I think honestly, the camera guy, his assignment was to record Frank Oz, but then when Frank Oz is the type of person that he doesn't like to really be on camera, like face to face, like even like interviews makes him nervous and what have you. So since you were behind him, the camera guy said, "Oh, I'll just record the guy that's been going around the expo show floor getting selfies with everybody."
Yeah, this is fantastic. No, I love to see this. I love to see this. That was really cool to see Lucas get a lot of love on Disney Plus. That was awesome.
Everyone in the front were all legends right there. I try to ask as many people as possible to take selfie with me, and I was very happy. Joe Rudy was like very willing to take photo with me. He was very happy he's like, I asked him like, "Can I take photo with you?" He's like, "Yeah, sure, of course." He just like took photo. That was amazing. Harrison Ford, on the other hand, was a little bit of a different story right there.
What happened with Harrison? So
I was like, "Hey, Mr. Harrison, can I take a photo with you?" And he's like, "You want to take a photo with me?" And he just like kind of looks her in the back and like it's like, "Tell you what, I'll give you a handshake, but not photo."
Just give you a nice firm handshake, right, man to man.
Yeah, and he's like, "I hope that was good enough for you."
And then Lucas was like, "I'm never washing my hand again."
Oh man. But like the way he talked is definitely like what I expected from Harrison. I think he was like he kind of like glanced in the bag. He's like it's kind of unfair for everyone else to like take a photo. Like just because you came up, it's not fair for everyone else. So I'm just I'll just give you a handshake kind of thing right there.
Yeah.
So, very respectful of him. And when he was up there, his voice was very weak. When he was like, making a showcase, I didn't realize that he actually like the age was like really catching up to him.
Yeah, it was kind of sad to see, to be honest with you. Like he seemed really frail up there.
Yeah.
I think that was also the same case with John Williams. I know that he didn't show up during the Legends Awards, and Kathleen Kennedy took the award for him. I think at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's sad. It's sad. Yeah, John Williams, that he's getting up there big time. What is he, like 95 now, I think, or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's up there.
Just an absolute genius, legend, But okay, so we have the parks panel now. Disney Legends. George, what are your thoughts on Disney Legends?
It's usually like not my all-time favorite presentation, but I think it was great to, see the inductees, get their awards and what have you. I think this year was a very nice selection of people. There was one year, it was like, I think the first expo back, I can't remember if it was right before the pandy or right after, but they gave the whole cast of Grey's Anatomy Disney Legend Awards, and I'm like, why?
Yeah, see, that's the thing. I'm not like I'm not like saying that they're not talented people. They absolutely are. But like legend, I don't know. I mean, like here's the thing. When I think legend, and I guess this is all subjective, right? But when I think legend, I'm thinking like the Sherman brothers. I'm thinking like John Williams. You know what I'm saying? Like legends. You know what I'm saying? The cast of Grey's Anatomy, great show. I know. I mean, I'm not talking shit, but it's like, but are they the Sherman brothers? Are they John Williams? Yeah, let's,
I think it's like it's a matter of like the show or crew that gave Disney money. I guess that would be how you would see it, because Kelly Ripa was also getting an award during this year, and her husband.
And you got a selfie with her husband, Mark Consuelos.
Yeah, Mark Consuelos. The man has a big charisma. I'm letting you know right now. Like, and he was also very kind, a very kind gentleman. And he was, when I said, "Can I take a photo with you?" He just like offered a handshake, and then he took a photo with me, and then like patted me on the back. Like I said, like all these people who were up on the stage and received awards, they were very professional and very kind people. Frank Goss himself as well too. They all deserve every awards, I think. But I don't want to take too much spotlight of George right there. But like I said, it's just great.
Yeah, there's. It's cool that they were so down to earth. We met Mark Henn, legendary Disney.
Oh yeah,
he was fantastic, right? He was
he seemed a bit very nice guy. I don't know if he was just shy or if he felt like, but he seemed like he was even a little bit.
He's old,
yeah. And it's a shame too, because like when we look at these people, we see them as the extraordinary, gifted talents that they are, throughout that many years of working within the company, and now it's like, we have to remember, as time goes on, you get older, and it's like you always want to see them as that person that you're used to seeing them.
Yeah, when I was a kid, because I love the animation, I would spend hours and hours watching like the behind the scenes of all these Renaissance era films and stuff, and watching like Glenn Keane and like Mark Henn and what have you, and yeah, you're right, George. To meet him and to see how old he is now, and he sounded old, and stuff. It's sad. They are getting up there. They're absolutely getting up there. But what were some highlights for you, Lucas, in terms of the Legends panel?
My biggest, number one person who actually deserves that Disney Legends Awards was probably Martha Blanding. She was technically the very first Black woman to be on the VIP of the cast member, and for the tour guide, and the way she was like explaining her story, like I actually was crying because she was explaining how her school teacher basically told her that she has to find some kind of like other ways to get a job, because she's not going to be able to get a job because of her race color, kind of thing right there. And truthfully speaking, during the time when Martha was living, it was a very hard time for Black Americans to go through that. And and her mom basically told her, don't let anybody put you down for like for who you are, kind of thing. And that really struck me hard, because I'm pretty sure like the only person who was a VIP tour guide and as a cast member, you would feel like completely left out from the rest of the people, rest of the workers, like stand out. And to think that she went through all those like hard work to get to where she is, I think that was one of my most favorite Disney Legend Award that I witnessed during that time. And I actually took a photo with her sister, who who was there and supporting her during that award. So that that was very good too. And the Dapper Boys were also like dancing in the back for her, cheering
that's
for her
awesome.
as well. Yeah.
She had I agree with you, Lucas. She has such an emotional, like just an incredible speech. Like you couldn't help but like tear up and stuff. I mean, she was absolutely so incredible, and her story and how far she came, was just inspiring and just yeah. I love. Yeah, I think she was the highlight. I would agree with you, Lucas. Absolutely, absolutely the highlight. The Legend panel was great. It was cool to kind of see all these people that have contributed to this company that we love, and that just kind of get their recognition, what I'm saying, and kind of like be recognized. And oh, maybe here says, can't believe you all saw Miley Cyrus Disney It Girl. Yeah, Miley Cyrus, she was there. There. She got really emotional on
She
stage.
was emotional, and I loved how when she looked at Martha and said, you're a strong woman, and she said, I am not, or something like that, and she just like started bursting out in tears.
Oh man, yeah, she's great. See, the thing about Miley, right, is that she's kind of like the next generation Annette Funicello, right? Like in Walt's day, it was Annette. Annette Funicello was like the it girl, the Disney it girl. She was the one that did the music, the dancing, the Mickey Mouse Club and all that stuff. And Miley Cyrus was really like the another generation of that kind of Disney, superstar. And so a lot of people were kind of criticizing the decision to have Miley on that list. I completely disagree with that. Like, I think she absolutely belongs on that list, just like Annette Funicello belongs on that list. These child actors that grew up and like they're icons of the Walt Disney Company. You know what I'm saying? They're huge.
Miley
they're huge. Yeah. It's
especially because even though, like we were just talking about, like with legends, like what is depicted for a legend, and you put Miley up against someone like the Sherman Brothers, obviously there's like no in comparison, but at a young age, Miley was very successful for Disney, and the amount of influence that she had on young girls, and the ticket sales for her concerts, the TV show Hannah Montana, and the Hannah Montana movie, and the Best of Both Worlds tour and everything. And it was a phenomenon at that time. And just like with I feel like with High School Musical, and now even like in the newer generation with the Descendants, I think there are a handful of young talent that is worth of being a legend.
So I like to say something, because if you go to Korea or Japan or any other like a type of like foreign land right there, and then you ask like, what kind of Disney girl can you think of, like the Disney TV show girl that you can think of, and that the first thing they're gonna tell you is a Hannah Montana.
Wow.
And that's their first answer. And they know who Hannah Montana is. It's Miley Cyrus. And Miley Cyrus brought so much money to Disney, and it'd be disrespectful for Disney to not give Miley Cyrus an award.
Yep. 1,000%, Lucas. 1,000%. You're so right on that. Yeah, she deserved to be up on that stage, and she gave a great speech. Really emotional stuff. Oh man, you know what, Kiki, look at, you're absolutely right. Hey George, you want to show everybody your shirt just to kind of like Hallmark Plus?
Yes,
they got a streaming service.
It's a new. We have to wear these like for work. It's to promote the new Hallmark Plus. It's a whole new thing, like with the app and stuff. That apparently everybody's using the plus sign now.
Yeah, pretty much. We got to do OG55 Plus. We got to roll that out.
Isn't Paramount also doing a Paramount Plus as well too?
Paramount Plus.
Oh my god!
Everyone's got a plus. Everyone's got a plus. But George, since my mouse is having issues today, Shabuzi. Wait, Cassandra Chamberlain here says, and thank you for being a member, Cassandra. Appreciate that. When Shabuzi came out and sang "Life Is a Highway," I thought of you, George.
Well, thank you, because I am a huge Shabuzi fan. Oh yeah, I was not expecting him to come on because I mean, obviously he had to sing something of Disney because and then that's when they made the announcement for the Cars Land and everything. But man, would I have loved for him to come on and sing the bar song?
I know. Well, it was so funny too. George and I did a reaction video, a music reaction video, and usually with these reaction videos, like I'll pick one, he picks one. You know what I'm saying? So he picks a song. He's like, it's kind of country, and I'm like, ooh.
Yes.
Ooh, you know what I'm saying? But I'll do it for you, George. I'll do it for you. Yeah. And I gotta say, I liked it. I liked it a lot. Shabuzi's fantastic.
Well, and the thing with that is it had a country twang to it, but the way he sang it, it had this like R&B kind of.
He delivers it differently,
Yeah.
And real quick, this is very important, George. Iger taking away the special access this week for that Hallmark Plus promo. You're getting revoked, buddy, dude. I'm telling you, dude, you're not going to get that call. We had brunch at Jeffrey's in Malibu this weekend. We're screwed.
Yes, we did. Yes.
We're done, dude. He's going to cancel. I know it.
Well, actually, technically not, because I forget the guy's first name. Hallmark, that's his last name. He actually was very good friends with Disney.
Okay.
And that's why Hallmark is allowed to sell Disney brand items.
Okay, interesting. So, to finish off the show, George, if you want to go to the top, we could take maybe like a few questions. We'll kind of work our way down. I'll let you man the comments.
Yes, I will manhandle the comments.
Don't tell Kev that. Don't tell Kev. He doesn't want to hear. He doesn't want to hear that stuff, George. He doesn't want to hear about manhandle and lube or whatever else. Googam32 here says, "Do you think D23 will ever be an annual event rather than a biannual event?"
No.
You don't think so?
I don't even think it even should be a biannual event, to be honest.
Wow.
I think honestly it should be every maybe 3 or 4 years, to be honest.
Like
make the announcement. Yeah, let it build up so that way we can get the kind of announcements and the kind of like roaring and cheering and everything. Because I feel like the next D23 is going to be great. But I feel like that the hype isn't going to be there, because what it's going to be is all these announcements just getting the details.
Yeah. And you know what? Pennsylvanians love their announcements. What say you, Lucas? What do you think? You see it ever being an annual event, or is it always going to be biannual?
Let's see. Is it an annual event? I can't really tell, because
it's a biannual. Right now,
it's every other year.
Oh, okay. Then what's the Orlando one? Is that like not official to D23?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So not really D23, but it's just like
it is D23, but it's a smaller venue and it's based off of just one kind of subject matter. Yeah. Like for instance, Destination D, Walt Disney World 40th. That event was just about Walt Disney World and its 40th anniversary and the history behind it. Then they did Destination D, 75 years of Disney animation. It was all about, the history of animation and what have you.
Oh, now I think about it, I feel kind of bad for Bob Chapek. I think that was the year that he went to Destination 23 and got fired instead of D23.
Poor Chapes. Poor Chapes.
Oh god, that makes it even sound worse. Actually, I think it should be annual, but only because I think Destination 23 should be actual D23, so that the East Coast can feel a little bit not being left out and getting the lower quality version of the expo.
Yeah, D23 light. You know what I'm saying? And JP here says, if they do make D23 annually, they should alternate between Florida and California to make it easier for different people to attend. Yeah, that's what Lucas was saying, JP. That's a great point. Yeah, that would be cool. Show some love for the East Coasters. You know what I'm saying? But not too much love, because we want a lot of love out here in the West Coast. You know what I'm saying? No, I think they should. In all honesty, they should absolutely do that and rotate it. Shane Narani here says, if they do it annually, it will probably be one domestic and one international. What are your thoughts on that? If they did annually, but one was like you know, like
It's
Brazil.
actually kind of funny she said that because there's a Brazil version of D23 actually happening, like upcoming soon. So,
Yes.
and I heard that that's a really big expo that's going to happen. So, like,
Yeah, they have a huge following in Brazil and South America. So, but again, it just depends on what the announcements are. But at the same time, if they don't follow the domestic D23 and they don't know what's going on, then I can kind of see them, kind of going back and forth between domestic and international.
Yeah. Yeah.
could
We'll
it be
see.
that they're making a Disney park in Brazil, that they're announcing that right there?
That's what I was thinking. I
And
mean,
then we're
because
having another humid and rainy like type of park over there, another one where everyone's suffering from
I'm
heat stroke.
thinking several things. Either a Disney resort, maybe storytelling living somewhere in South America that they were doing, and I think one of the new Disney cruise ships is going to have a South American port.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, probably. I think so. I think you're probably right on that.
Brazil showcase.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Rudio is in the house. Rudio says we can't downplay how epic the Bluey photo op was. Totally worth the hype, dude. Rudio. I mean, Bluey is an absolute icon. Well, so is Rudio. Actually, these are both icons. But we didn't get a Bluey. We didn't do the Bluey thing though, huh?
No, we didn't.
Yeah, we
No,
didn't get that.
you know what it is? They only gave us one event each. And then they didn't really give us like multiple events that we can attend on, and that was like the biggest disappointment for me. Even
Yeah.
though you can reserve as many as you can, but you only get one out of all 3 days.
Yeah, I agree with you. That this year I felt was a bit strange because the last D23 people ended up with like three choices per day. Like, so you had like 9 things altogether.
Wow.
And it's like
It's not even one per day. It was a one out
yeah,
of
this was
3
like
days.
one out of the whole thing. Yeah. So
That's
it was
crazy.
like I don't get it.
That is crazy. Drew's Adventure History says, ever since the Coco boat ride was announced for DCA at this year's D23, do you guys think that it will go at the Mexico Pavilion at Epcot in the future? It might actually. It would probably replace.
Don't say that. Don't say that. People will be mad. The Epcot enthusiasts will just like come in and like start like bringing pitchforks and fires right there. I said that one time, and everyone was like telling you're crazy. Like like people were trying to cancel me for like suggesting that Coco should like be part of that attraction right there, and then they're like,
I wish that they could just do both.
Yeah,
like just add. See, here's the thing: the way that boat ride is, I don't think that's good enough for Coco. Just to take the 3 Caballeros out and put Coco in, I feel
even
like
if they add a bunch of animatronics though and stuff, like I mean, it's a pretty.
I don't know, because see, that's what they did with Frozen Ever After, and it's like it's okay, but it's because they shoehorned it in Maelstrom, and it's like, I don't know. I think that's probably what they're going to end up doing.
No, so basically what's going to happen is that they're making Tropical Americas in the Animal Kingdom right now. So it's a lot easier for them to add something, including the Coco, like a boat ride over there, than try to add something in Epcot. And considering that Epcot, like, if you look at the Google map and from the satellite point of view, it's a very complicated location to add anything or expand anything around the world, like pavilion area right there. So if you're trying to add another extra boat ride right there, it's just going to be too complicated. I mean, there's like not enough space for them to add something, and that is like one thing that throws me off. That like, how are they going to add more countries in the World Pavilion if they were to consider doing so, unless you eliminate a country? That's the only way to do it.
Right. Yeah, I think you're onto something with that though, Lucas. I think that they might opt for, like, if you guys get a clone of our Coco ride, maybe it will go into Animal Kingdom now that we have the Tropical Americas. That's an interesting perspective, and that might be the way they go. Cassandra Chamberlain here says, saw OG and George standing in line for the Disney Plus booth. Did not want to interrupt as you were talking with somebody, but it was to see you out in the wild. Yeah, Cassandra, anytime you see us, say hi.
If you see us, just come up.
You're not
Honestly,
bugging.
even if we're just talking with somebody, just do what I do. If I see someone that I recognize and they're talking, I just move my ass right up to them and I'll stand there and wait. Like it's like you're talking with them, and it's like I'll stand here and wait. I don't care. You know,
interrupt us, say hello. You know, just
Yes.
like have conversation. I know that like some people are very like introverted and shy about it, and then there are also like certain content creators, like on that TikTok video, a lady complaining about some content creator being extremely rude for wanting to talk to them.
Oh, I'm so glad you actually brought that up. Being that we are on a live, I do have to say something about that, because I did mention a comment on that. And the more that I was thinking about it, I kind of see both perspectives of it. Because one, everyone's on there saying whether, she was in the right, she was in the wrong. So I'm going to play devil's advocate on both sides here. One, whoever the influencer or the vlogger, whoever it was, we don't know what she was going through that day. In that moment when the person was approaching to say hi, we don't know if she was in a rush for something. We don't know if she was dealing with something that her mind wasn't in the right place.
That's a fair point. Yeah, so, you don't know what someone's going through. She could have just got a call that someone's in the hospital. Or I'm just saying, you just don't know.
You're right. You don't know. We don't know. So you can feel that moment of saying, wow, that was kind of rude and disrespectful in the moment. But to get on social media and just bash the person like right then and there, and you're going to say, oh, well, you're not all that. You're not all this. Well, 2 seconds ago, you did think they were all that because you were approaching her to say hi. Yeah. So to me, that's kind of like a bitter kind of thing. And I think like you can handle something without having to hurry up and go on social media just to bash somebody for whatever reason.
Yeah, but on the flip side, I can also see what she's saying though, because
and that's what I was going to say. So, but speaking to how we are, when somebody approaches me and says, "Oh my gosh, it's George the Italiano," I love Orange Grove 55. I love you guys. Great content. That's a huge compliment for me. I encourage people to approach me and say, I just like with Cassandra, you didn't want to bother us. It's not a bother to us.
Not at all.
We encourage people. I mean, hell, start a line. Like we'll have a line longer than Bluey. Like I don't give a shit.
I wish we had a line like Bluey. Oh my God, that'd be great, George. Yeah, but we had a lot of people come up to us at the expo, and it was fun. That was like my favorite part of the whole thing was the people we met.
There are influencers and vloggers out there that I won't lie that they feel entitled and that their shit doesn't stink. And I'm sorry. And in that sense, they are just like us. We're just all people. So that's where I kind of go back and forth. I play devil's advocate on both sides. But
two things can exist at the same time, right? We live in a world where everyone wants to make it so black and white, but you can acknowledge that, hey, as a creator, you should welcome people coming up to you because you're a creator. You're nothing without your audience. I'll just say that right now.
Yes.
If you don't have your audience, what do you have? You're talking to yourself. You know what I'm saying? So you owe everything to your audience. So when people come up to you, you give them the time. You know what I'm saying? But
absolutely.
To play devil's advocate, like you were saying, George, we don't know the details and we don't know what that creator was going through. If there was bad news at this person, I don't even know if it was a he or a she. I don't even know who it was, but if there was bad news and they were rushing to get somewhere else, or you know what I'm saying, that could have been an equation. Usually maybe that person is cool, but this time you just caught him at a bad time. So there is a little bit of nuance here, and you're absolutely right on that, to kind of maybe just have a little bit of like perspective, right? Just kind of like, don't always assume, right?
Right, exactly. But as far as for me, speaking for me, I love the attention. I'm an attention whore. I'm sorry, I am. I love taking photos. I love talking and interacting with people. I love signing my signature on cleavage. That's just.
There you go. Yeah, George was doing that all weekend, right?
Is that what you've been doing at cruises?
Yeah, on the cruise, you're signing on it with the Walt font. You know, the That's great, George. That's fantastic. No, but Cassandra, if you ever see us, I don't know where you're at. I don't know if you're like in California or not, or in Florida. But if you ever see us, like if you ever seen like us at Disneyland or like Walt Disney World or something, or next time at D23, just stop by and say hi. Even if you think we're busy, just stop by and say hi.
Yeah.
We would love to see you, you know?
And we're
Absolutely.
constantly there, and all you have to do is just keep an eye out for OG's hair. You can't miss it.
Come on, you can't miss it, dude. I'm like 6'4" with the hair, you know. It's you can't miss me. You can't miss me. So we'll do like 2 more, then we're gonna get out of here. Mr. Todd Hensley here says, I'm not sure if I would be able to meet tomorrow without slipping and calling him Daddy Josh. I know.
I was close. I was tempted.
Oh.
I was
my
tempted.
gosh, George.
But I was afraid.
You almost risked our special access once again. Dude.
That's why I thought, you know what, I can't. I'll be good. Although they probably did find me strange that I was chasing him down Main Street, but it's
well, you know, I'm just glad you got that restraining order reversed. That was cool.
Yeah.
If it was me, I probably would have rushed him like a Jason Momoa, like just like rush a charge at it right behind.
That's awesome. That's awesome. We'll do one more, George. Pick one, and whatever one you want to pick from the list.
Okay.
And we'll go from there. One more question.
See.
Yeah, the expo was really cool this year, though. I had a really good time. It was cool meeting the community, meeting everybody. We hung out with a lot of people from like Diz Twitter and like it was fun. What's this? Tone's Poppy's in the house. George encourages his fans to say hi by grabbing his butt. Yeah, he does. George loves it. He's just like, right?
As I said, has to make an echo.
Oh man, George. Yeah, man. Well,
let's see. Do you mind if I choose like one last?
Yeah, go for it. I'm trying to like go through because I was like,
the last one, the J Brad was like saying "call me crazy" one. But I think Disney should have a program where, upon proof of visitation of Disneyland and Walt Disney World, should get discounts for visiting international parks. Would be a huge moneymaker.
That's interesting. Where upon proof of visitation of Disneyland and Disney World, you should get discounts for visiting international parks. That's fascinating, like a points program.
Yeah. I mean, it would be a very interesting idea. And if you visit all of them, you get perks such as free Disney Plus for life.
Yes.
Man, I wish Disney was that philanthropical, right? Like, you know, I just see they're willing to give like a free cash for everything like Mr. Beast does, but honestly, I think the Tokyo Disneyland and Shanghai Disneyland and the Disneyland Paris, I think they're all run by different companies, if I'm right, and just using Disney as a name.
Yeah, well, Paris was, I think it was owned by like a Saudi prince or something back in the day, but now it's fully Disney, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
correct.
But yeah, Tokyo is Oriental Land Company.
And the Asian parks, Hong
Like
Kong
Hong
and
Kong.
Shanghai, I think they're like a 50,
government.
Yeah, it's like a, what is it, like a 50 or like a 60-40,
Something
kind
like
of.
that.
Yeah,
but
it's not fully, yeah.
Yeah, but imagine like Disney suddenly just walk up to them and say, "Hey, because this customer is like has been like an annual pass for Disneyland and Walt Disney World, so you had to give a discount for them." You know, like these companies are gonna be so outraged and like upset about it. And I think there would be like some like big controversy going on right there. Yeah, but I like the idea, but it's just like I don't think Disney will be happy about that because they don't want that much drama within their hands.
Yeah, and it's given away too much, I think, probably. Jay Brad here says, if they make a Disneyland park in South America, it could actually be a massive moneymaker. I think so. I think it could, you know? I think it could. I mean, hey, look, Disney feels there's a market down there. There's enough of a market to put a D23 Expo in a few months. Was it like November, I think, right, George?
November is going to be Brazil. Yeah.
So, you know, there's a market for it. So we'll see. But I think you're right, though, George. I think what they'll do, they'll probably test it with like a cruise port. Mm-hmm. And then if that does well, and that's the beauty of the cruises. You can kind of beta test this stuff and kind of see what regions of the world are supportive of the Disney brand, kind of, right? Or that theme park experience brand through that cruise line. So it's pretty interesting. But Lucas Kim and the Italiano. I want to thank you, gentlemen, for joining me today. If you do see George in the parks, make sure you grab him by the cake. Right, George? That's how you prefer it, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yes.
But Italiano, if you let everybody home know where they could find you on social media, sir.
Absolutely. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You could also find me on Instagram under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you can find me right here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 at Citrus Corner with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
Sticky. And Lucas Kim, thank you so much for joining us again, Lucas. We'll have you on again soon. It was a lot of fun. If you can remind everybody where they could find you on social media.
Yeah, you can find me on X or the Twitter. I'm gonna do the same type of emotionally. George, you can find me on X. It's Lucas Kim. My username is right below, and then also you can find me on YouTube, Lucas and Disney channel right there, and you'll be seeing. I'll be actually starting to bring more contents and stop being lazy for once.
Yeah, make sure you follow him on Twitter and make sure you support him on YouTube. He's a regular here on OG55. We love Lucas. He's awesome. So make sure you show him all the love. Absolutely. On all platforms. But I want to thank everybody who joined us today. We had a really good time talking our D23 experience. It was a lot of fun. Stay tuned. We got a lot more stuff coming this week. We even planned a little something with Bad Thoughts, Mr. Tone's Poppy. That's coming later this week. So we have a lot of cool stuff, a lot of fun stuff in the pipeline. Thank you so much for watching this episode of OG55 Live.